Welcome to Title Talk, a podcast for real estate investors where we cover tips, tricks, and trends in the industry.
This podcast is all about providing valuable insights to help you maximize your investment opportunities.
Whether you're a seasoned pro or just getting started, Title Talk is the place to stay in the know and get inspired.
So grab your headphones, tune in, and let's talk title.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to Title Talk. I'm Jamil. We got Dena.
Hello, everybody.
And we got guests with us today.
We got a full house, actually.
Full house today. We're going to talk about the Fed rate cut and what it means and things that we can expect, things that maybe we shouldn't expect, or expectations versus reality, and all of the good things. So I think if you are in real estate, you're definitely going to want to tune in and stay listening through the whole show, because it can give you a kind of a roadmap on what to expect over the next quarter or 2 quarters of your business. And who are you?
Hi, guys. It's me, Rahima. I just sauntered in with some food from my mom, so I thought I'd have a seat.
Oh, we should eat it.
Yeah, it's delicious.
What did mom make?
My mom made Jamil's favorite food. It's like a beef curry with fresh flatbread roti that she makes at home.
Oh, that sounds good.
Veggie samosas.
Nice.
And then veggie samosas.
Oh, veggie samosas?
Mhm.
Oh, that's
She knew
good.
Dina would be here, so she didn't. She doesn't want to make beef or chicken, so she's like, "I'll make her
Very
veggie."
sweet.
I love samosas. Love
do?
samosas.
Oh,
Oh, I
yeah,
love
well,
samosas.
eat 'em.
Yeah.
Eat them.
And he loves to eat too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
But he's
true.
on a
Not
limited
not this
diet
week,
right
but
now,
generally
but-
yes.
Why?
His birthday's coming
well,
up.
my wife and I are doing like a 5-day fast this week.
You're just not eating for 5 days.
I'm on day 4 right now.
Oh my
Isn't that
God, he's gonna
terrible?
be so cranky.
Yeah.
We call it hangry.
Oh, I can't
Exactly.
wait.
Yeah,
I'm so
I'm
glad
doing-
there's a buffer here. Are you fasting
know.
too?
No,
Oh,
no.
thank God.
Oh, no,
I was gonna
I'm-
change places.
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm sure you look great, by the way. Like you're glowy. Like,
Thank you. You as well.
I would consider fasting for about a minute, and then I'd be like, yeah, no, I can't do it.
Over it.
I can't do it.
It's not fun. I can say that.
No, it's hard. You know those people that are like, oh, by day 3, I felt euphoric.
You know those people.
Yes.
Jamil, did you fast at Burning Man?
Did you fast?
I only ate 3 meals.
The whole time you were there for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
You
Whoa.
Because I saw what was available.
did?
Oh.
Okay.
Did you eat any bananas?
I did not eat bananas, but I saw bananas. Actually, that's not true. I did eat bananas.
I
ate
heard
I ate
about
a couple of bananas. Yeah.
Did
Yeah, from a banana stand.
you tell anybody?
No, I did not tell anybody about the bananas. Yeah.
I tell everybody I meet. I show them that picture.
That's your job.
Okay, so can I tell them?
Oh yeah, well let's
All right.
let her
That- Oh yeah. Sorry.
We have
But they-
special
it's like
guests
they
in the
already knew
house,
you.
guys.
Yes.
And you are going to love them.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
We are joined by Rebecca and John St. Thomas with CMG Home Loans. Introduce yourself, guys.
Well, thank you. I'm Rebecca Riley St. Thomas. This is my wonderful son, John St. Thomas. And I've been in mortgage banking for 30 years, and he joined me about 10 years ago. And so I'm so proud to have him with the business, and it's really fun and everything. We're also, in addition to mortgage lenders, we're real estate investors, and we love that. Actively working with real estate investment. Fun fact, I teach continuing education classes for real estate agents. I've
You
done
do?
that.
And she makes them
Yes.
fun.
Yeah.
And she makes them fun.
I teach all of them. All of them. And I
Which-
taught-
what do you
Yeah,
teach
most
at?
credit hours.
yeah, most credit hours, legal issues, fair housing, general, disclosure, agency.
Oh, I'm due for mine. I should just.
Oh, you
take
are.
yours. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We
Are,
can
are
work
you
something
live
out.
or Zoom?
We do a little bit of both.
both actually.
Yeah.
We could both. Yeah.
Primarily live. though.
Yeah, it was really interesting because during COVID, we were able to do Zoom classes. And before that, we weren't allowed. But ADRE then said, there's a need for this. And so now we can
Right.
do Zoom, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
So,
So you do the full 24 hours.
yeah,
That's amazing.
absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely. It's really fun. I love it.
Why don't they have a continuing education teaching real estate agents how to value properties?
They should.
Ooh,
They absolutely should.
Actually,
Well,
I've never been taught how to
No?
comp a house in real estate school. I
does-
was
Oh,
never
well,
taught how
I
to
was going
comp
to say,
a house.
does Jay do a 3-hour class?
Jay Joseph does do a 3-hour class, but we do actually have an appraisal class that we have.
I got our
And
school.
as you just said that, I think what would be helpful is if you could review the outline and the materials, and we could have you help us with that.
I'd love to. I'd love to.
Absolutely.
Why don't you have them teach the class.
Well, I was going to
We
say,
would love
like,
to, we can get you certified to teach a class without a problem at all. We would love that.
I could 100% teach the class on appraising and how to actually value a house.
Yeah.
All
Yes.
the parameters that are necessary to look at, the rules, what to exclude, what not to exclude, what
Yes.
adjustments to make, all the things. I've been doing it for so long. And I actually interviewed, would now be close to 150 appraisers to compile the rules that I use to value property. And I looked at all the things that were crazy, all the things that were standard, and I created like a standardized sheet of rules to follow when you're trying to value a property. So we'll talk about that
Right.
later on. But I
Yeah.
think it's just it floors me that agents aren't taught how to value property before they even get their license.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not even in the curriculum.
No.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we always laugh, like even in mortgage banking to get our license, what we did to get our license has nothing to do with what we do every day. And similar, I hear real estate agents say that all the time. You know, what I did to get my license is not at all applicable to what I do.
Right.
Which
You have
is
to
odd.
learn on the job,
Yeah.
which is kind of wild.
Yeah.
And so I love their real estate investment story too. So can we call out John a little bit to,
Oh, yes.
to tell us
Well,
how he first got started in investing?
no, absolutely. Well, and I'll start with like the very beginning of it, and then I'll segue over to him so he can finish it. So when he joined me in the mortgage business, I said, we have two goals. I said, the number one goal is that we're going to work with like-minded people. We want to work with great people. We want to work with people who want to help people, take care of people. We want to deal with ethical and moral people. You know, we can be creative in the world of mortgages, right?
Yes.
But we want to just, you know, be careful, right? And I said, we can do things the right way. So that's our number one goal. The number one goal is to get you into a house as soon as possible. Because if I could have had the situation with my parents, which in our ages, we didn't have that, right? To help get you into a house, I said, I want to get you into a house. So we found a beautiful house right in Tempe, right off of Mill Avenue, just south of University. And at the time I was like, oh my gosh, this is a great deal. It was before Tempe started really going up. And I said, this is going to be a great deal. I said, we have to buy this house. He's like, okay, got it. And so he bought the house and started to house hack and have his friends come in and help pay the rent and everything. And so then I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah. So I bought the home, house hacked it, original 1960s seafoam green carpet, didn't have dishwasher, didn't have a garbage disposal, any of these things. And lived in it that way for a year with two of my buddies who paid like 2/3 of the mortgage payment. Fast forward a year, I remodeled the place and moved out with my now wife, moved in with her and rented it to a friend of mine. And from that point, my wife, like a little background on her family are custom home builders. My wife has her own interior design company. So that kind of helped in our ability to remodel places and do some of the things that you do, Rahima.
Awesome.
But one thing, I think the thing that you're alluding to is we generally move every 2 years. So we find something that is a big value add project, add the value to it, and then live there for 2 years and kind of get to enjoy it and then sell it after 2 years. And we do that for the tax benefit of, you know, if you live in some for the last 5 years, up to $500,000 as a married couple is tax free.
Right.
So we do that, rinse and repeat.
They turn trash into cash on a regular basis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. What
So
an awesome
Yeah.
she's already counting down.
I've
the
thought
days.
about that as like, hey, you know, because I've been in this house for 4 now.
Mhm.
And I'm like, man, should I sell this thing and try to get the exemption and, you know, get some of the tax free? But the moving sucks,
It does.
Oh, it does.
right? Like
Trust
Yeah.
me.
It seriously sucks.
really sucks. Except if you're her, because she moves into a house and she's like, how many more days until I leave?
Oh,
this
my
house
wife's
and
the
move into
exact
my next
same.
one?
And we're in a constant countdown.
Oh yeah. The
Oh, yeah,
moment
absolutely.
that we step foot in that house and
Yeah.
it's like we're living there, my wife's like, just so you're aware, August of 25. We
Oh my
will be
God,
out
I
of
love
here.
your wife. When can I meet her?
Yeah.
She's
As soon
amazing.
as she starts eating,
Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
definitely
yeah,
want to meet her
you can
again.
meet her, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, she's exactly me.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like clockwork. I mean, but you're right.
But
It's,
when you're moving as often as they are, they don't accumulate any junk
there is
because
truth
they're
to that.
always moving. So they're
Right.
not accumulating. They're like, I bet you they could move in like a day and a half and
Right.
be in and out
Well-
of and like settled in a new house in a day and a half.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and the other thing is, so when you talk about moving, right? Okay. So, and I'll offer my services as well to you if you ever want to do this. Who do you think helps them move? right?
Mom-
So,
mom-
oh yeah, and so we've got a big family, and so everybody just comes over, and
Yeah.
because everybody in the family does this and they understand it,
Yeah.
they're like literally, okay, oh here's the milk, let's walk out the front door. So
Yeah. My
I
wife
mean-
comes from a big Italian family. So, and everybody pretty much does this.
I'm
So
falling in love with your
we'll,
wife.
we'll
with
be like,
everything that
you
you're
know, in
saying.
2 weeks, we're probably moving out one of her family members to help them go somewhere else.
See how they do it? That's
Right.
amazing.
I've always said that if you really love somebody, you'd never ask them to pick you up from the airport or help you move.
Oh, you move?
Aw.
But now I'm
Okay.
seeing
Well,
the
guess
complete
what?
opposite over here because I have two people who break that rule all the time because she always offers to pick me up from the airport every single time. And every time she offers, I say, don't. It's easier for me to take a taxi. It's hell at the airport. I'm totally fine. But she insists she wants to get
Yes,
me from the airport.
I think
Even
that's
though
right.
I'm
I agree
even though
with
I'm
her.
8 minutes away from the airport.
Yeah.
Right?
And she's 40 minutes away from the airport. She'll drive 40 minutes to drive me 8, which I
Right.
think is just like
That's love.
I
it's
know.
She does love you.
That's what
She
that is.
loves
Yeah,
you.
and the other thing is, think of how many people in this world don't have someone who's going to do that for them, right?
Yeah.
And so you can say, "Oh my gosh, I know Rahima is going to come pick me up."
I just
Yeah.
leave my car at the
Absolutely.
airport.
I do that most of the time.
Okay.
But when I'm gone for like 2 weeks, that bill's like
Oh yeah,
yeah.
that is
Yeah.
a little crazy.
because then I park at valet too. I don't park in like
Yeah.
because I don't want to have to look for it then, right? Because I've had that where I've parked my car in a regular spot and I come out and I'm like, oh shoot.
Oh yeah.
Well, if
Where
you
is
drove the
it?
Tesla truck, you wouldn't have that problem because it'll have the locator on.
I
there.
don't have a single car that's not like that though. Every car I own is one that's very distinct and I still lose them. Tesla truck or whatever it is, it
Oh.
still
Still
will
can't find it.
find a way to not.
Oh my
But
gosh.
and you guys help each other move
Oh
without
yes.
just on a no problems.
Oh, it's just like
Do you guys make it fun? Is it like is
Oh,
moving like
yeah.
you guys just like it's like oh my god we get to move?
oh
Okay,
yeah.
make sure nobody leaves town because we got moving. Is that
Right,
like
right. Oh yeah, absolutely. But the other thing is, you were just talking about food, right? And so being a part of a big Italian family, there's always food surrounding the situation. So we're always like, oh, what are we going to eat?
Too
What's
much food.
happening? Who are we getting food from? So
Yeah.
yeah.
When I married into my wife's family, some of the men that were already in the family came up to me. They're like, "What do you weigh?" I was like, "It's kind of a weird question."
That's a weird
yeah, I'm like,
question.
it's a little
That's kind
odd,
of like,
you know.
How
And
much
they were
money's
like,
in your bank account?
Yeah. They're like, "What do you?"
How
So
much you weigh is way more personal than how much money's in your bank account.
yeah.
Right.
But they were
I
like,
think
the
so.
most anybody who's joined this family has gained was like 85 pounds. And
I
so
get
they're
ri-
like, we're keeping track.
Do you see why he's on a diet? Right?
Yeah, it's very easy to pack on some weight eating that.
and
food all the
also
time.
it's like only a personal question for the following, right? If you ask fat people how much they weigh, it's rude. If you ask
Right.
rich people how much money they have in their bank account, it's rude.
Right.
So you're okay in
As
the
long as you're thin and poor, you're
yeah. They
ask
can do
all
it.
the questions you want. Yeah. Anyhow,
I don't know.
I don't know how many people I just offended with that one, but
I was on a second date, true story, and my girlfriend was with me because I was still like a little bit.
you brought your
unsure.
girlfriend out on a second date.
Yes, I did.
Good job.
Because I was unsure, and I'm like, I need a second opinion. Because
How did you manage that? Were you like, hey, I'm gonna bring a friend, or
Oh, I buddy lunched him. I didn't tell him like she was coming with me.
Oh.
Oh yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
and then what did you have her suss him out? Be like, what do you think of this
Yeah,
guy?
I was like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and then I was gone for a few minutes, and she had a mission. And I told her, you can ask him anything you want. Like the idea is, you're not staying with us all night if this guy is not a dud. If he is a dud, we're leaving, and we're gonna go do something else together.
and then
She asked him how much was in his retirement account.
and
Oh my
then
God.
He was like, he had a good answer,
What
but
was
he
it?
was very offended.
oh what really?
Yes.
Okay, and
Yes.
then so did you dud him?
No,
Right.
no,
You
he
dudded
was.
him?
That was it.
It was over.
Dunzo.
I don't have a retirement account.
Well, then you need to buy more houses.
I mean, I guess
is
like
the retirement
That is the
investment, right?
retirement.
Okay, okay.
That is,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
that's your retirement account.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he had a good answer on the retirement situation. But I was still like, no.
was the answer?
Mm-mm. Well, he was in the wealth management game, so it was up there.
And he
It
would
was
be
up there.
offended by that being in the wealth management.
Because he just, I mean, it was like the first 5
I
minutes.
can
that
imagine
they've
he was a
met.
little thrown
right?
off. I
You
can't say I've
know.
ever met
Did
somebody
I
in
ever
the
tell
first
you
5
how I
minutes.
met my husband? How I asked him like every question you'd ask
Oh,
over a year?
Yes, and
in
I
15
love
minutes?
it.
Like every question you could ask over a year.
So it's like a speed dating
Oh,
session.
yeah, but like it was not a date. I met him, I saw him, and I conquered him, and then I married him.
And then, well, my favorite thing that you asked him was when the last time he was at the dentist.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I asked from like head to toe.
Yeah. When
What are your
How
dental
often do you
records?
go
Well, before
to the
we even
doctor? How
really
often do
got
you go to the
together,
dentist?
I took him to the dentist and I took him to the doctor. Like
To
we had
verify.
just met, and I took him to the doctor and I sat in the room.
Trust but
He was probably
verify.
like, no, you
Wow.
don't need to. And you're like, no, please. I
No,
insist.
I insisted. Like, no, I need to hear it all.
Really?
I mean, I
I'm not-
turned my face when they did the prostate exam.
I,
but
I was just gonna say. I was just gonna say.
Right
He was like,
there.
it's a prostate exam. I'm happy to come.
yeah, I was all in it. All in it.
You literally were all in it. Wow.
Yeah. You don't invest time or money into something when you're not certain,
Right.
right?
Right.
You have to be certain. So
Yeah.
we should probably take this back to real estate.
Well, speaking of certainty,
Yes.
right? Because I think there's a lot of people, and here's the funny thing: Fed cut the rate,
Yes.
and here's what I think I understand. And I'm not a mortgage banker, I'm not an economist, and I have a limited scope of information and knowledge about what I'm talking about. So forgive me if what I say sounds uneducated or wrong, but I'm doing my best. So I do know that we were expecting a quarter point cut,
Right.
and we got a 50 basis point cut,
Right.
which was above expectations.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so what I understand about how the mortgage industry works is because the Fed rate is not tied to mortgage rates. The Fed rate is tied to something else, which influences the mortgage rates, which is the treasury.
Yep.
And so the lenders were expecting the rate cut to happen. And so
Right.
for the
Mhm.
last few months, they've been baking in the rate
Yes.
cut
That's
into mortgage rates. And so we've actually seen the benefit
Yes.
in mortgages and mortgage rates for the last few months already.
Yes.
100%.
But because they were expecting a quarter point cut and we got a 50 basis point cut, is there a possibility that there might be further cuts because of that? Because they hadn't expected
Yeah.
so deep of a rate cut.
So interestingly, there's a gentleman that we follow a lot in the mortgage space. His name is Barry Habib. Very smart
Mhm.
gentleman.
Very smart.
He has
Barry Habib.
Barry Habib. Yep.
Okay, cool.
MBS Highway is his
Cool.
company.
Let's talk to Barry Habib. Is he?
Would be great to talk to.
Yeah.
Barry is awesome.
Let's find Barry.
Yeah,
Let's
you
get
would love
Barry
to
on the
talk to
podcast.
Barry.
Okay.
Barry, if you're
Um,
listening,
we
we'll invite you on.
His service is kind of what we look at and watch as far as like when should we lock loans, when do we float loans and things like that. And he kind of gives us updates on what's going on economically. But so in our space, in the mortgage space, as we got closer to the rate cut, it became more and more apparent from being educated by the likes of Barry that they were probably going to do a 50 basis point cut.
Got it.
So it was always like quarter. And then as we got maybe, I don't know, a week or two out,
Right.
the rhetoric kind of changed. Like, I think it's going to be 50 basis points.
Okay.
And the
So
reason,
did lenders already bake in 50 basis points?
yeah, because what I was going to say was when they made the announcement yesterday, generally, if the announcement was something the market wasn't expecting, we would have watched the market make a big knee jerk reaction. And yesterday, rates actually got like just a slight bit worse. And we kind of
Yep.
recovered today. So it's basically the same. So we didn't watch the market make any change. It was basically like it just kept beating along.
Okay.
But if they didn't do the 50, rates would have gone up yesterday significantly.
Significantly.
Yeah,
Yes,
depending on
absolutely.
if they did like a 75 basis point cut, we would have
Then
seen
we'd
probably
see-
rates get even better.
Yeah.
If they did
okay.
25, then we might have seen them get a little bit worse.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for the education on that because I was confused as to what was baked in and what wasn't baked
Right.
in. Right. Okay. Now that we have that kind of cleared up, there's another factor I want to look at, right? Housing prices, and
Yes.
what this means for housing value. And what I also heard, and of course, when I say heard, I'm talking about YouTube University,
Mhm.
was that mortgage applications spiked. And
Yes.
we've seen refi applications spike. And who better to ask than lenders if
Right.
you're experiencing that spike? Did that happen?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And,
Okay.
and as soon as it happened, our phones started blowing up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting phone calls, we're getting text messages,
So
everything else.
demand is through the
Oh,
roof
yeah.
right now. And
Yes.
and almost, would you call that pent up demand?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so I want to know the difference between pent up demand and normalcy, right?
Okay.
Okay, pent up demand is a guy just did 10 years in prison. He comes home to his wife. and she has the best sex of her life,
Right?
right?
Oh
Or-
boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Bad analogy?
No, we're good.
Okay.
You're
It was
making
probably the best for
reality.
him.
He's being
Okay.
optimistic. His
Yeah.
glass is overflowing right now.
Okay,
right? Okay.
So, but what is
Literally.
what is the bedroom like, on week 3? And
Okay.
that, is it just back to normal? Is he farting in the bedroom? Like, what's
Right.
going on? And so is what we're seeing pent up demand? Will it trickle off and just become normal and like not all that exciting to expect housing prices to increase because inventory is still pretty low?
Mhm.
Or is this demand so pent up that it's actually going to stir a surge in housing prices? And if we have a surge in housing prices, then does the Fed look at this and say, "Oh crap, we effed up. We gotta correct again"?
Right. Oh no, I personally think that
And I'm sorry for my analogies, guys. I
No, no.
I use really weird ones.
I'm
it was
enjoying them.
good. It
You
was
made
good.
us laugh though.
Yeah.
You did absolutely. I believe that. That yesterday basically was like the horse has been at the gate, okay,
Mhm.
and the horse is like, oh my gosh, I got to get out, I got to get out. So yesterday the gate opened, and everybody was given permission, by the Federal Reserve to go
To buy houses.
to buy houses. And the thing is that there's huge pent-up demand with not only people to buy houses, but people want to sell their houses. And so what's interesting, is that when you look at where the inventory's been, so last year in average, we were like anywhere between 12 and 13,000 units of inventory, plus or minus. We got to
Here in Arizona.
here in Maricopa
Maricopa
County, in Arizona, okay, in our market. And then what happened in December is the rates went down 2 full points because of the anticipation that the Federal Reserve was going to be lowering interest rates this year.
But we didn't have much effect.
Well, we had a little bit more demand. We had a little bit more listings come on the market.
okay.
So like 12, 13,000 turned into like 14, 15, 16.
Okay. Well, that's significant.
It
Yeah.
is. It's a sizable difference.
Okay.
And so what's interesting is we've fluctuated between 16 and 17,000. Well, in the last 30 plus days, we actually hit 18,000
I
listings.
think we just hit
Oh,
19.
Yeah,
So
we're-
we're about to balance out.
Yes, yes.
That's beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's so beautiful, but it's going to get even more beautiful because let's think about this, right? As we continue to increase, people are going to have more confidence because what's happened in the last 30 days is that they have more confidence to say, oh my gosh, I can sell my home. The rates are going to go down and then I can go buy another home. But then we have the greatest group of buyers that are sitting on the sidelines, the millennials. They're going to be a bigger group than the baby boomers. So they're sitting there going, oh my gosh, I want to buy. But they've gone through this, interesting time where they were like, oh, well, the rates are 3% and 4% and I can't buy, they're spoiled. They're not, our age, they don't understand. Right.
I'm
And
a
so,
millennial,
yeah,
just for the record.
it's okay, but you understand.
I was like, as you were saying that, I was looking at him and I was like, what is there?
I can offend him. It's okay. Right. So there's so much pent up demand and everything. And so I think that, it's interesting. So if we look at the mortgage industry and we say, okay, we're going to have more refinances, we're going to have more purchases, but how do we look at this as real estate investors? I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, the values, because this is what happens. It's a supply and demand issue, right? So when the rates go down, demand goes up. Well, where does pricing go? It goes up.
Up.
Because what you said about a shortage of supply of inventory is incredibly powerful. And we were just at Clever Summit and we talked a lot about where the market is. And nationally, depending on where you are, we're anywhere between a shortage of 3.5 to 5, maybe 6 million homes nationally. Well, we know in our beautiful market here in Phoenix, we are short inventory.
Yeah.
And so it's a big subject. And so for us as investors, like for instance, you're in wholesale right now, obviously, right? You have the biggest wholesaling company in the nation. So for people who are fix and flippers, and as we know, we've seen a little bit of inventory tick up, I think, if I believe it's correct, in the wholesale business. But now the flippers are going to be like, oh my gosh,
Well,
the rates are going down.
It was crazy because just like buyers, your phone blew up.
Mhm.
right.
We sold 12 houses yesterday.
Oh, you
Wow.
did? Awesome.
12
That's incredible.
houses
That's a lot.
in a day.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. And so that's like normally we don't get like that kind of a sales spike. Right.
Right.
And so what does it mean? That means that there's a lot of confidence with the fix and flippers.
Yep.
Yeah.
That they're looking at it. They're just like the other buyers are like, oh, time to go.
Right.
Right. So it's like you get the effect of, like at the beginning of the race where they, shoot the gun
Yep.
and everyone's off to the races. And
Yep.
it felt a lot like that, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's off to the races now. And so that's great for wholesale. It's great
Yep.
for so much of the investment world that we're in.
Right.
But is it great overall is the real thing, because I don't want to see a massive increase in pricing. I'm sorry for any of you
Right.
buy and hold investors. I'm sorry. But the reality is that we can't have what happened in 22.
Right.
Yeah.
With COVID.
We just cannot happen. And when it got to the point where you were getting offers 100,000 above list and waiving appraisal contingencies and the shenanigans that happened with that, that's just it's
Unsettling.
It's
Yeah.
unsettling.
It is.
And it's not that is like when you look at a real estate market that's operating like that, and of course, we were all drunk off of that
Oh,
at
right.
the time, right?
Yeah.
We're all like, oh my God, we're so rich and everything is selling so fast. And then when it turned,
Right.
we were holding 5 or 6 houses, crickets. And so all the gains we made from the above list
Right.
offers that we got, all the gains we made, we lost.
Yeah.
And it happened overnight. It
Right.
felt like
It really did.
Yeah.
It really did.
we balanced out, but of course that sucked.
Yeah.
And that's not good for investment. That's not good for
No.
planning. That's not good for construction. That's not good for anybody. Because if you're holding the bag on that, then you felt it,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And if you're the lender on that, you felt it. You
Right.
felt all of the negativity that came from defaults and foreclosing and takebacks and all the things that none of us are wanting to have happen in our world,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So again, we don't want to see another period of time where everybody is, running to the Zillow to go buy a home.
Well, wasn't
Right.
this the biggest drop in like 4 years?
Oh,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We
Yeah.
didn't have a
So
drop.
it is
Yeah.
a concern.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next. But
Yeah.
So what are
I
you
mean-
predicting?
Well, I think initially, to your point, we're going to see demand on both sides. We're going to see buyers get off the sidelines, but we're also going to see sellers who are now willing to sell. So I think you're going to see
Mhm.
twofold. You're going to see more demand on the buy side, but I think we're going to see a little more supply too, because I think there was people who were handcuffed to their low rate of 2 and 3%, and it's tough for somebody to have a mortgage payment of say 2,000 and then say, I'd really like to move. Let's go see what we can afford and qualify. And then seeing that the new payment's going to be 3,250, and they're like, whoa, 1,250 more than I'm paying now. Not happening, right? But and they say the magic number is like 5.25, right in there, 5.5,
Mhm.
where suddenly that gap between your
You
existing,
got a 5.25. You can walk away from a 4.
yeah,
Right,
and because you have
right,
the equity
right.
position from
Yeah.
the last 2 years, also that you're going to have such a large chunk of down payment to go put down on the next place, even though your rate's higher than it was at the previous house because of the larger down payment, your delta between your old payment and your new payment shouldn't be so maybe $200. People can stomach that.
Yeah.
And they don't have a problem with that. But stomaching $500, $800, $1,000, people are like, forget it. I'm not doing this.
How much do elections have to do with this situation, right? Because we're in an election cycle. We got a 50 basis point cut. We have one of the most polarizing elections, I think, that we've had since 2016.
Yeah.
absolutely.
And, we've got a lot of people that are either A, suspicious of the timing,
Right.
or B, wondering if, when we have a result, if whatever the result is, if it's a Kamala presidency, what happens to real estate and what happens to the economy then? If it's a Trump presidency, what happens to real estate and the economy then? And so if you have any insights with respect to rates, the economy, and the presidential election cycle, because I see it, it feels like Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Right.
Every election, every 4 years, we get these, the months leading into the election, it's like all this like crazy activity with, the Fed doing things that they normally don't do
Right.
until it's like right before
Right.
the election. Like what, and how
Even-
much, like, is Powell like, I want to keep my job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Right.
is he
Yeah, even
is he
though-
thinking like, I think it's going to be a Trump presidency and I really want to keep my job, and I'm gonna like, how, are we
Yeah.
suspicious? Is that crazy talk?
No,
What do you
well,
think?
it's funny because
That
they are
movie is-
supposed to operate independent of who the president is.
Let's
right?
be real.
Well, that's what it's supposed to operate
Supposed to.
independent of who the president
Supposed
is,
to.
right? I was, what's funny is I was reading something and it was showing that regardless of if it's Democrat or Republican, historically, real estate has not seen like, when Democrats in office, real estate's bad, but if the Republican, it's like the same regardless. But yeah, you're right. There is that consumer sentiment of like, well, if this person gets in, it's going to be terrible versus if this person gets in. But
Well, and I'll say this. So to answer your question, I will say, we always say the numbers don't lie, right? And I will say that it was incredibly significant because what's happened over the past 12 months is every single month when they come out with the jobless claims and the unemployment numbers and everything, every single month they come out with them. Then they fast forward and they revise them. Just kidding. Those were not the right numbers. We're going to make them lower. We didn't actually employ as many people as we thought we did, right? And then we had a huge event happen just a little over 30 days ago where they re-revised the numbers by 818,000 jobs. So they went back and they said, wow, we really didn't create, okay? And that's where I think a lot of this 50 basis point thoughts started.
Is that unemployment is really,
it's really bad.
It's really bad.
It's really bad.
And it actually could get a lot worse.
It could get a lot worse. And I think that the other thing is there's a wonderful gentleman named Logan Monashami, who is the lead economist with Housing Wire. Great personality, amazing, but he's a brilliant nerd. And he talks about all the time labor over inflation. And it's really significant. But to your point, like look at in the news just the last few days, how many companies are laying off people, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so to your point, it really is. I personally believe in seeing all of this, that the unemployment numbers are a lot worse and the labor situation is a lot worse than we're really saying.
I mean, in the last 2 days, we had a borrower making an offer.
Oh,
she had submitted the offer.
Yes.
And then she called me the next morning and said, I have to pull my offer because I've been notified that I possibly am going to get let go.
A possibility.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it was
Layoff?
basically telling that this group is going to be laid off and she's
Okay, and
or a group within them.
Say who it is. It's a big company. Say who it is.
It's Cox.
Cox.
And she,
Yeah.
and this borrower makes a good amount of money with Cox.
Yeah.
And then another borrower I spoke to works with another big company, and she was like, "Yeah, we have to postpone this for like 3 or 4 months because there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding whether I'll be here."
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's definitely an effect.
Yes.
I can say this. I remember in 2020, pre-decision, right? I have lots of buyers that I talk to and I ask them questions. And I remember asking, and they would say to me, if Biden wins, I'm not buying anything. I'm not doing another project ever. I'm waiting 4 years. I'm going to wait out. America's going to crash and burn. It's going to be a dumpster fire country. I don't even know if I want to live here after that.
Yeah.
And then Biden won. January 6th happens. All that figures out.
Right.
We get past it. And we settle into a Biden presidency. The phone rings. He's buying houses.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And he comes to terms with the reality that, oh, wait, I've never had a president save me.
Yep.
No president has ever come to my
Exactly.
home and saved me or my family.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I just got to do for me.
Right.
And what am I doing not flipping a home right now? Because this is how I feed my family. So
Right.
I need a house, Jamil. What do you got?
Yeah.
And so is that also a thing that you guys notice in the mortgage business, that maybe almost the psychosis of that the president is going to make this massive wave of change? Because look, there's just never really been that. It's America. America is America. And we have good times, we have bad times, but we've never had a tidal wave of like, wow, that person came in and turned the country into something completely different than what it was. And so, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe some people are like, wait, no, hold on. No, Trump did that. Or maybe Obama did that. Or maybe whoever did that. Or maybe whatever. But yeah, the reality is that we've kind of gotten lost in that sauce, right?
Right.
Of what the executive branch of our government actually does for the people. And so in the mortgage business, are you guys hearing that, seeing that? Are we tied to it? Do people make decisions based off of that reality?
Some do. every consumer is a little bit different, but there's definitely consumers who base their decisions on emotional pulls, right? I've definitely spoken to a number of people who are, no matter how much you talk to them, I'm bleeding in the face here, talking to them, explaining logic to them, they're just like, they're not budging. So some of them, but I mean, there's plenty of people who don't. I mean, I can say, just in our company, CMG, we're a large company and we have, people who do large amounts of origination. There's people breaking records in our company right now with Biden in office, and they were breaking records when Trump was in office.
Yep.
So, meaning that there's still people purchasing homes, originating mortgages, whether rates are high or low or who's in office. So
It's interesting what you said. Yesterday, I went to an investment group. It was in East Mesa. Before I got a chance to speak, I heard a lot of the rhetoric that you would expect to hear in that neighborhood, right? So I was asked to speak about communal living, and I thought to myself, wasting my time. This is not the group, and this is not the people that are going to buy into communal living. They bought into communal living, and it didn't matter to them if it was going to be a red win or a blue win. They saw that there was a need. It wasn't going to make a difference on who the governor was going to be or who the president was going to be, and they bought in. And in fact, they asked me to take them to the house directly from that meeting.
Wow.
Like
That's great.
directly from that meeting, they're like, "Yeah, we're in." And I got 2 calls in the morning saying, "When is the next house available for me to look at to purchase?" So I think that an investor is an investor, regardless and despite
Yeah.
whoever's in office.
when an investor is usually a little different than a regular buying their first primary
Right.
residence, there's
Right.
definitely more emotion involved there than there is with a good
Yes,
investor.
I think he's right. When it's
Right.
not an investor and it's somebody who's just, buying their first home or their second home, maybe it matters to them. But for us, we just change the dialogue, right? Is this going to be one favoring this or this?
So from your perspective, and I know we've talked about this a little bit, but like, why is the need for communal living so important right now?
I think it's so important because when you look at what's happened with affordable,
Let's define
Mm.
communal living.
Okay.
For the
Okay.
viewers that don't understand it, from the mortgage industry's perspective, what's communal living?
I would say communal living would be where you have multiple people living in one house,
Unrelated.
unrelated. Okay. It's not a family. I mean, people could be a family,
Is
right?
it 4 or more unrelated under one roof?
No, it depends. It depends on the city.
City.
Right.
So
Could be
Mesa
3.
Mesa says 5. They'll let 5 or more, or 5 or less unrelated. Phoenix says 6 or less unrelated. So it just depends on the city.
Right. But for mortgage purposes, we would say, however many unrelated people. Like I will say this was absolutely brilliant. And this was right around the exact same time a year ago where we first saw both of you speak on a panel. We have a client who we just did his 11th loan. We didn't do all the other previous loans, but we did his 11th loan. And this young man has houses primarily in the Tempe area, 11 of them. And he has 6 to 8 unrelated people living in every single room of the house. And
Yeah, he manages all of
he
it.
manages them all himself. Can you imagine that? Right?
Wow.
It's unbelievable. So he was introduced to me, and I went to meet with him, and he started telling me about this. And I was fascinated. And I said, "Oh my gosh, you are doing such a service." And he said, "What I do is I work with young girls who really need to have a safe place, because some of them have gone through issues with their relationships and everything, but they're all women, young women who need a safe place, who need affordable housing, because with the jobs that they do, they can't afford rent." And so I went home to John and I said, "Oh my gosh, I can't even believe this." And then we saw you two in the panel, and Jamil starts talking about co-living, and you start talking about it. And I just looked at him and I said, "Oh, I can't even believe this."
Yeah, look at timing.
Like, how is it we don't know about this? And so we've followed you incessantly for the past year. And, we've come to see you speak so many times, and we've seen all your videos. And I'll say that one of my favorite, I love them all, but I think the one that just, totally nailed it for me, not only as a person, but as an investor, is when you two did the video at your beautiful home in Venice, and you're both sitting there and you're having the conversation. And you start, like, from an investor perspective, when you start talking about how we do this as the Burr model, and how you get all your money back. You have an infinite return.
Yeah.
You rinse and repeat. Like as an investor, that's amazing as it is. But if you think about what we want to do to help the community and help people, you think of, as an investor, you're going to think, oh, how do I scale, right? How do I scale to make money? But as someone who cares about the community, what the needs in the community are, how do I scale and get more of these?
I know.
How do I make this one have a
How do I
baby and this
how
one
do
and
I
this one and this
help
one?
more people and
Right.
get more people out of living in their car situation,
Right.
Yeah.
living in this terrible spot. Because it's, look, if you live in the United States, you've seen it. It
Oh,
doesn't matter
absolutely.
what city you're in. It doesn't
Yep.
matter what major metro you're in. You've seen good people, working people, beautiful families living in their cars.
Yep.
And yes, there are there's people dealing with mental illness, there's people dealing with addiction, and that's a different situation because they need different services.
Right.
But when you have a family who have employment living in their car
Yeah.
because I wholesaled their home,
Right.
right? That
It's heartbreaking.
it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And when I think about the reality of it, I've wholesaled over 7,000 homes, which means I've made over 7,000 homes less affordable.
Right. Right. It's a good way of
That's
looking at
the
it.
reality
Yeah.
of it. I've made 7,000 homes cost more. And so when you think
Wow.
about it from that lens, and you see it from that lens, and you take responsibility, and you're like, okay, well, that's the reality. I've been a part of the problem. Well, how do I become a part of the solution?
Right.
I'm not okay to just continue being a part of the problem. I'm not okay to just do that. But how do I take my business model and make it a part of the solution? Because that's how we make things new. We don't pretend that this didn't happen. We look
Right.
at it and say, no, we can take that and we can turn it around and we can make it new.
Yeah.
We can make it a better thing.
Yeah.
And from your perspective, when you said that, how do I scale this?
Right.
Is the question.
Yeah.
Right.
Because how do I scale this to the point where I can take, maybe 30% of Tent City
Right.
out of that situation because they're working poor people and now they're living in homes and they can shower before they go to work and they have internet access and they can
Right.
do the things that a dignified human being should have.
Right. They have a
Right?
hot meal.
They have a hot meal. They've got people in their house that they get to talk to. They got, internet. They've got a TV. They got a bed. They got the things.
Comfort.
Right.
They got
Community.
yes.
I mean, how
Community.
about they're not alone.
Right.
They're not afraid for their life because they fall asleep for 2 seconds. and
Yeah.
Who
They're
knows
in a safe
what's going to
place for something,
happen?
yeah.
The funniest, I'm sorry, that's the wrong word. The worst thing I think I seen, I was with Pace. Him and I went and we visited a shelter here in Phoenix a couple of months ago. And they had asked all the kids that were in the shelter, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's a time old question for
Yeah.
children, right? What do you want to be when you grow up? I ask my 15-year-old that all the time. And she's like, shut up. But little kids will answer that question.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.
They'll answer that and they'll tell you fireman, policeman,
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. The majority of them said safe.
Wow. Like, how do you not cry?
Right.
Right? Like,
They
how do you
didn't
not cry?
say, they said safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just said safe. Right. And so that to me
No,
is
it's like-
the reality of what it is. Right. This is who we're fighting for.
Right.
This is who we're working for. Because there's a family that lives in their car around the corner from here. And they've since left. But I used to see this van parked out there and I was like, the car would be running and I would walk by with the dog and I'd see, there's tinted windows and I couldn't see a lot, but I was like, interested, just interested. Like, who are these guys?
Yeah.
Right.
What's their story?
What's the story? You don't know if they're good or they're bad or what's going on here. Right. And so one day I'm walking a little earlier and I get to see the setup of the day. Setup of the day was trunk open, back hatch open, children laid kind of out on the
Wow.
the trunk, playing. Mom's there with them. Dad's putting his suit on. Dad was putting his suit on. And then I realized, oh my goodness, he's getting ready to go to work. She's taking care of the kids. She must spend her whole day looking for places to find AC so that they can go from cool spot to cool spot until they kick her out. She probably goes and buys the coffee until they kick her out, and then she goes and buys the fries until they kick her out.
Right.
And she probably does that 3 or 4 times a day until she can go pick him up.
Right.
And then they do that again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? And when you see that this man's got a job. These aren't drug addicts.
Right.
These aren't people struggling with schizophrenia. Not that any of those are like the things, but like that's what we always think this is what this
Right.
problem is.
Yeah.
Right.
We see being unhoused as being an addiction problem of being or laziness, or we're like, oh, it's lack of this or lack of that. The man is putting on a suit.
Right.
He's got a suit job.
Yeah.
I don't wear a suit to work. Right?
Right.
So when I see that this is what he's got to do every single day, and then I think about what she's got to do every single day, it is heartbreaking.
It is.
So Rahima, you are now managing, I think is it 29 or has the number gone up?
Rooms.
Rooms.
So I'm at 36 rooms.
36 rooms.
But-
What's the average income?
The average income is $22 an hour. But I want to talk about what Jamil said. The families, right? Because initially, even the other models that are out there only allow for housing singles.
Right.
And so, I would get multiple calls. Hey, I need a place for myself and my kids. I need a place for myself and my kids. And then I said to the investors, we got to address this. We can't just have singles, because even if we allow the single in, he's got a kid. What are we going to say to the kid?
Yeah.
He's,
Where do they go?
maybe we let him in, but now there's a kid. So we started building them so that we have 9 units in a house, 5 of which, or it's almost like circular, 5 of which have exits and entrances outside of the common front
Okay.
door, with their own kitchenette, their own bathroom, and their own larger bed, and then still room for a smaller bed if needed. So we're building them like 180 square feet, and we can fit all of this in. And God bless Phoenix, because it's permitting all of these for us.
It's awesome.
It's like
Wow.
it knows it's writing shared housing on our permit,
Wow.
and
It's
it
incredible.
knows exactly what we're doing.
Well, they know you're solving a problem.
Yeah, and that's just it. And I'm kind of like embarrassed for those cities that are shutting those types of living
Right.
down.
Right.
In LA.
In Mesa, forget LA.
Yeah, Mesa's the
Mesa
worst
they're
one, right?
kicking them
We've got
In
the
Mesa.
biggest problem
In
here.
LA, they're raiding them.
That's
We were in LA and they call them illegal hostels. And it was
Awful.
it's awful because there was this, like, it was a really nice property. And these people were living there and they got raided with guns.
Like they're
Yeah,
they're
doing
like they're
something
doing
illegal.
something illegal.
Like they're doing something
They're just
illegal.
living there.
The sheriff's office shut it down, raided them, and they kicked all the occupants out. You know where those occupants went? To the street.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's
They
horrible.
left inside and they were forced outside. And they did this in the name of the law. And they called it an illegal hostel. And as the news came out and talked to the folks that were coming out, they said, "What do you do?" And they got all the different jobs that these guys have,
Yeah.
all the different ways that they're contributing to society,
Right.
all the different ways that they're being everything but a problem.
Right.
And then we look at the tent cities and we look at the streets and we look at what's going on and we think that's the problem. No, you want to know what the problem is? The problem is when we run in with guns and we kick these people out of a home where they're
Right.
living, trying to do the best that they can. We put them on the street and we say, "Oh, and by the way, you're not allowed to be in here and you're also not allowed to be in here."
Right. Right. Like
Well,
they're
imagine
criminals.
What that does to your psyche,
Right?
in
Oh,
your
yeah.
What are the
confidence.
kids?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Even the kids sitting in the trunk of that car. They're,
Right.
those 2 kids are playing in the trunk of that car. They're looking around like, this is daycare. I remember my daycare.
Mhm.
I remember daycare. I don't remember lots of things, especially in my 20s, but I remember daycare. Right.
Yeah.
And so, like, the fact that those kids are at that age of that's
It's
they're
scarring.
gonna
It's
well they're gonna
scarring.
be traumatized, and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
then what's gonna happen to the society that can't afford to be
Yeah.
housed, and they're living the way that we're having people live,
Yeah.
and then what's that gonna create? What are
Yeah.
the
We're gonna-
implications of what we're doing to our country
Yeah,
and the
we're going to
people that live in
perpetuate
it?
the problem.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So I want to flip the script a second and talk about how do we finance these properties
Mm.
given what's happening with um, all of the factors involved as an
Yeah.
investor. Like, what does that look like?
I have to, so you've spoken a lot about, all your knowledge with appraising and everything else. And I've heard you say this, and I think this is spot on. As well as Rahima, you've talked about this. So when you look at, say, a 6-bedroom, right, or 7-bedroom, for 2 of those bedrooms, we don't want them to really be bedrooms, right? We want them to be a den. We want them to be an office.
Right. So we keep our closets.
Yep.
We don't do a reach-in closet. We'll do an external closet. So now I've kind of bent the book, right? I'm doing
She's house
8
hacked
I'm doing
this
8 and
whole
9s.
model.
I'm doing
House
8 bedrooms,
Alone.
8 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, 9 bedrooms, 9 bathrooms. So before I even start, I invite an appraiser to the
Right.
property and I say, what's the neighborhood let me do? She says 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. Perfect. 5 of my bedrooms have closets that are exterior. I can have as many bathrooms as I want. No, the appraisers don't care about that. Neither do the lenders. They just care about the number of bedrooms.
Interesting. Yep. That's
So-
exactly right.
And so
Yep.
I make sure that I have externals and then even something like the exit strategy, like there's a pool at the house. I don't fill in the pool. I deck over the pool.
Right.
So if a single family ever wants to purchase this house,
Mhm.
all
It's
we have
still
to
there.
do is remove the deck
Perfect.
and fill the pool.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm trying to keep it, maintain it. So there's still a common area. There's still an area where they can be a family, but you have all these extra spaces. And then, maybe you have extended family that lives with you. Maybe you have your adult children come back or your aging parents come back. Maybe you're renting the bedroom, but it could still be exited out.
Right.
And then the ticket for me is I always make sure that I'm buying deep enough that even after my huge renovation at around $100 a square foot, I'm at the ARV for that neighborhood.
Yep.
So that when the investor
Brilliant.
goes to
Yep.
refi, he just has to leave 20%, which for
Yep.
me is about $100,000.
Yep.
And he can take the rest, pay out the hard money for the initial purchase and take the rest of the money out and do it again.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
And so when I'm doing my numbers on an 8.8, the rate of return is 39% on his $100,000.
It's unbelievable.
I want to make
Right.
sure everybody understands what she just broke down.
You want to break it down again?
Mhm.
Let's do it again. Okay. So you purchase the house. Now we
With
like
hard
to
money.
purchase with hard money around $300,000. We put 10% down. We're left at 90% loan to value, right?
Mhm.
Right.
The renovation, and this is hard to digest, but we take out all the guts of the house. So there's just the exterior walls remaining and we redo the entire property. And guys, it costs about $100 a square foot. So on a typical 2,000 square foot home where we're able to put in 8 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms and still have a common area, it's about $200,000
Right.
and 210 if you want the fire suppression, which I insist on them doing. There's no money in it for me. I'm just saying do it for the safety of the people who live there
Right.
and your insurance becomes
It's
sprinkler
awesome.
system,
right?
Yep. It's awesome.
So you bought it for 300, you have 200,000 in renovations. Your ARV in that neighborhood is 500,000.
Yep.
You have to, you're financing out at 6 months, you're paying out your hard money. You leave in $100,000 because you have to,
Right.
80% loan to value.
Of equity. It's not $100,000 of money.
Yeah.
Right.
It's $100,000
Equity.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
It's not actual
Yep.
dollars in. You
Yeah.
actually have all your dollars out.
Yes,
Right.
depending on how it gets appraised, you could.
Yeah.
But prepare yourself to allow
Maybe you
yourself.
have some money.
You
in,
have
but
to
it's
leave
not
some
having
money.
All your money.
No,
Right.
it's not all your money. And you are paying out your hard money. And a DSCR loan, when we were doing the calculations at an 80% loan to value on this house was about $2,800. Am I right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what they were,
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
what the payment was going to be. So when we took that and we added their insurance and we insure these like hotels, we don't insure them like multifamily
Yeah.
or single family. We
Well,
insure them
and
like
they
a hotel.
required, to be
That
insured
we
all the
actually
time.
made the product.
Okay.
We made it specific to this type
Nice.
of living, right? And you take in all your utilities, now we do mini splits, so our power is very low, because even when you're using a mini split to cool down 80 or 100 square feet, even 180 square feet,
Cools down
it
quick.
cools down very quick, and you don't waste any air cooling down where nobody is,
Mhm.
right? So our power bill hasn't been more than $400, even when
Wow.
we're at over
Wow.
110 degrees for 100 days
That's
in the summer.
incredible.
Yeah, that's really
Beautiful
good.
power bills. And so you include your insurance, your utility, your whatever payments, your property management, your fee to, house everybody or curate. I'm going to say the words curate your tenants, because an app will give you an option, approve or disapprove based on a picture. Curating
Mm.
your tenants to allow for community in this house. It might take you more than a day. It probably will take you about 2 weeks to fill the house, but it's worth it because now you have a community in that home.
Yeah.
You're going to net on the investment that you've left in there about 39% based on an 8.8.
And 2 weeks to fill is quick.
Yeah, because
That's still
got a
quick.
really cool
I
strategy for
spend
that, too.
I'll make
Take a
people.
little longer. I mean, 2 weeks on the fast. I've seen them take them up.
Yeah.
You know,
But that's still
Yeah.
But
still
still
quick. I
that's-
mean, you think
that's
about it, having a regular
amazing.
long-term tenant. I
Yeah.
mean, it could take
Yeah.
you 30 days to find
Yeah.
somebody.
Well, imagine moving in with somebody you actually know and like. It still takes you a little bit to get that whole chemistry thing figured out.
Right. I mean, that's 8 people. That's a lot.
And now we're going to be doing 8 like couples or 8 people with kids.
How
Yep.
does that change in terms of, you were saying about 100 a foot now that you're doing
It's about
kitchenettes and
It's about
stuff?
180 square feet for those kitchenette ones.
Change your dollar.
Your
per square foot
cost.
and your-
No,
Your
not
rent out.
really.
Oh, it's
Not
about the
really.
same?
That's
the extra
great.
kitchenettes cost a total of an extra $5,000.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
So it really didn't. It was very minuscule. The rent that they're charging on that is $340.
Okay.
So
A lot
when
higher.
I told you the 8.8,
So it's
yeah,
making up for
$340
it
a week.
anyway.
So when I based my first 8.8, that was based on $280 a week.
Mhm.
This is now $340 a week.
Yeah.
So it's a lot higher in
Yeah.
terms of the revenue. It's closer to $10,000, $12,000 gross a month.
Are you thinking differently about kitchen amenities if you're going
Yeah,
to?
I used to do 2 kitchens, right? You came to
Right.
that house where I did 2 kitchens. It did
Yep.
an ROI.
Yep.
So the next house we did 1 kitchen, but we gave everybody a fridge and a microwave.
Okay.
In the
now-
room.
In the room.
Yep.
And now
Yep.
this one, we're doing still 1 kitchen, but we're giving 5 of them their own kitchenette. So I think like by the time we really get through to this, the house will be floating because every time we do it, we're improving on what we did last.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Are you vents in all the rooms for like the stove top and all that?
Yeah, on
Yeah.
the kitchenettes we do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very cool.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
You heard it here first on Title Talk, folks.
Well, this was a fun.
This is so
episode.
fun.
Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, hit us up in the chat. Say fun. Write fun in the chat if you guys like this. Also, of course, there's going to be people that are going to want to do business with you. You guys are wonderful human beings. How do the public and the folks that, and you're not only just able to serve Arizona, correct?
Right. 50
can-
states.
You can serve 50 states and they
Mhm.
can work with you in all 50 states.
Mhm.
Wonderful. So honestly, I'd say, guys, my favorite mortgage lenders we've ever gotten to know, and love you guys. You guys are wonderful human beings. How do people reach you? What is the website? What is your guys' contact information? How do folks do business with the two of you?
Thanks.
You got it.
So Rebecca Riley St. Thomas, 602-326-9606. And our website that we like to use is John and Rebecca Mortgage.
That's our Instagram. Yeah.
Yep,
so you
that's
can
our
reach out to us
Instagram.
there. But
Okay.
yeah, or email,
Or email.
which is John ST as in St. Thomas at CMG Home Loans, or Rebecca RST at cmghomeloans.com. That would be the
Amazing.
best way to reach us.
Yep.
I love that you dropped your cell phone number. That's what Rahima did a few episodes ago. And I
She
was like,
did.
that's slightly risky.
Yeah.
Hello.
It's risky. People will call, but guys, just so you guys know, they can help you in all 50 states. So it doesn't matter if you're in Arizona, it doesn't matter if you're in Florida or whatever. So if you guys have business, and if you guys also heard, they do investor loans on buy and holds as well.
Yep.
So make sure you're not just thinking of them, oh, they're the co-living home loan people, or they're the retail home people. No, they're investors, they're retail. They've got all the products, and they also have an open mind to what we're doing, and they can help guide you. So if you got it where you're maybe going down the wrong path on how to do your renovation on your co-living project, they'll say, hey, you know, it might be a better idea to do it this way. So make sure you reach out to them, get acquainted with the two of them to understand how they can help you with any loan products that you might be needing. But it was really nice
So
time hanging out with
fun.
you.
Thank
two.
you.
Thank
John
you.
has a
Thank
special
you.
superpower, by the way.
No,
Oh,
there's
yes,
no.
your special superpower.
Rebecca had told Dina that I enjoy
Wiggity
rapping.
wiggity waps.
But
Oh.
that is, I enjoy singing rap songs. I don't rap myself. I don't
That's
write
amazing.
lyrics or anything like that.
You're not gonna get off this without
No.
doing something.
No,
I'm sorry, but
just say what's your favorite song that you do as a duet? Like you have a great song. That
Okay,
you
do
do.
both people
this
then.
isn't a rap.
No,
so
it's not a rap song.
so my best friend, my best man, him and I always, if there's a karaoke bar, we end up doing "Let Me Love You" by Mario. That is like the go-to.
and so we'll leave you guys with "Let Me Love You." Take it away.
Oh gosh, baby, I just don't get it. Do you enjoy being hurt? I know you smell the perfume, the makeup on the shirt. You don't believe his stories. You know that they're all lies. Bad as you are, you stick around, and I just don't know why.
What? That's never happened on anything that I've ever done before. So
That was for Matt.
there you go. Wow, that was incredible. Nice job, dude. You got a beautiful voice.
You do?
Wow.
Thank
All
you,
right.
thank you.
Another episode of Title Talk, guys. Make sure if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, give us a like, and we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.